Today, I am going to show you my 5-step formula to phrase like a pro. This formula is really simple and you will be able to use it on any phrase or melody that you want to play. Now, to show you this formula, of course, I am going to need a phrase. So we are going to use the first 2 measures of the Bee Gees tune, How Deep Is Your Love? This song was later remade by P.J. Morton and has become kind of a standard now in the instrumental music world. So this is what the 2-bar phrase sounds like, played as is with nothing done to it, just playing the notes and rhythms. Spoiler alert, it's going to sound really boring. There is no flavor, there's no sauce, there's nothing on that. So in this 5-step formula, we are going to add one thing at a time and make this melody or this phrase sound great. So the first thing that you need to do, the number one thing you need to do when you are learning a new phrase or a new melody and you're trying to make it sound a lot better, is find the important notes. I call those notes goal notes because they are your main notes. They're the ones that you are leaning into. They're the ones that really make the phrase. So I'm going to play this phrase one more time. I'm going to bring out the goal notes, and you're going to hear that just by bringing out these certain notes and making them sound more important, it's already going to start to shape the phrase. As you can hear, I brought out 3 notes, and by making these 3 notes sound more important, it already started to shape the phrase. Now, when it comes to goal notes, it takes a little bit of work in the beginning to figure out what they are and where they are. But once you figure this out, spotting them is going to be really easy and it's going to transform your melodies. So usually they're going to be the longer notes. So as you can see in this specific example, they are the longer notes, not the 8th notes, they're the longer notes. And a lot of times they're going to be at the top of the phrase. So when you have a longer note at the top of a phrase, chances are that is going to be a goal note. So in this specific example, we are calling the F sharp, the E, and the D the goal notes. Okay, now that we know the important notes, the goal notes, now we need to add in the second step, and that is dynamics. Dynamics are super important to shaping your phrases and making everything sound great. And when you have goal notes, you are either going to be leaning into those goal notes, in other words, crescendoing, getting a little bit louder, or leaning out of them, decrescendoing and get a little bit softer. So for the first 3 notes going into this F sharp, I am going to get a little bit louder and lean into that first goal note. You hear that? Here I'm shaping the phrase. So we're going to use those dynamics. Listen to how I lean into the F sharp, then I pull it back to the E, and then I land on the D at the end. Do you hear how I'm shaping that phrase with the dynamics? Now, when I do this, it makes those goal notes sound like they are bouncing off of each other. I call this pattern of goal notes ricochet notes because they're kind of bouncing into each other, like that. If you're enjoying this tutorial, now would be a great time to hit that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, and leave me a comment. Comments go really far in the YouTube world, so every comment is very much appreciated. Okay, we have goal notes and we have dynamics. The next thing that we're going to add is vibrato. Of course, vibrato is the wah-wah sound that you can put on long notes. When it comes to vibrato, you have 2 variables. The first is how fast it is, or faster, and how deep it is. In other words, how flat you go. So this is normal, and this is going really deep. So with those 2 variables, we can create a whole mood that is going to refine the sound of this phrase. So I'm only going to use vibrato in 2 places in this simple phrase. I'm going to use it on the F sharp and on the D. So take a listen for the vibrato. So on the F sharp, I start the vibrato right away and it's pretty fast. Even though this is a fairly short note, I'm hitting it right away and playing fast vibrato. Hear that, how I'm hitting it right away and it's fast? Now, on that last note, the D, I am going to start it a little bit later and the vibrato is going to be slower. I'm doing the last one slower because the phrase is ending. So by slowing down that vibrato, especially with the dynamics, that makes the phrase end. So when you use your dynamics and your vibrato together, you can really shape the direction of the phrases. So far, we've got goal notes, dynamics, and vibrato. The next step in the formula is the complete game changer, and that is articulations. Pro musicians use a huge variation in articulations, and that creates their own personal signature style. So when we're just talking in the beginning about how to use articulations, I'm going to show you a really simple method to get really comfortable switching up your articulations. So when we're talking about articulations, we're talking about four things. We're talking about tonguing a note, dotting a note, in other words, staccato, accenting a note, or slurring a note. So with those four things, we can get a whole lot of mileage. So let's take a look at these first four notes. And on the D, I'm going to play it a little bit different each time. In the first example, I'm just going to tongue the D. Simple, easy. This time, I'm going to staccato the D. This time, I'm going to accent the D. This time, I'm going to slur the D. Now, we have four variations on how to attack any of these notes. And if I mix and match them, you're going to get a really interesting sounding phrase. So here is the first example. Articulations go a long way. As you can hear, by switching up the articulations, you can come up with tons and tons of different ways to phrase this melody. So I suggest, especially in the beginning, trying a whole bunch of different ways and just see what sounds the best to you and what you end up landing on to make each phrase sound like your own specific style. If you'd like to dive deeper into the world of phrasing, goal notes, adding in dynamics, figuring out your own personal style, I do have some courses on that, actually a lot of courses and lessons on that in my sax school. That's actually one of the things that I focus on the most in the early intermediate and intermediate pathway courses. So if you want to dive deeper into this subject and really start crushing your phrases and your melodies, stop by the Scott Paddock Sax School and check it out. And with the fifth step in the formula, we are going to add a little bit of spice to the phrase. And that is through the use of embellishments. Now there are a lot of embellishments, but for this tutorial, we're going to talk about three. That is a grace note, a turn, and a fall. You're going to get a lot of mileage out of just using those three. So a grace note is when you play a short note before the note. So I'm going to do that on the E in this melody. Did you hear that? In this next example, I am going to do a turn, and I'm going to do it on the second F sharp. So for the turn, I'm going to start on the F sharp, go up to the G, back down to the F sharp, and then land on the D. So we're just adding some movement. That's pretty much what the job of embellishments is, to add movement to a phrase. You hear that? And the last embellishment that I'm going to use is a fall. That's just when you play chromatically in between two notes. I'm going to do that for the last two notes in the phrase, which is the F sharp going to the D. So when I do that, I start on the F sharp and I play chromatically down to the D. And I also am going to decrescendo when I do that, just so it has a fall feel to it, so you can feel the notes going down. And here it is in context. And that is the whole 5-step formula. You find the goal notes, you add in some dynamics, then you use your vibrato, you add in varied articulations, and you finish it up with some embellishments. And using just those 5 steps, you can take a melody that is plain and boring, that sounds like this, and transform it into a pro-sounding performance. And the great news is you can use this 5-step formula on any phrase or melody that you want to play. Thanks for taking the time to check out this video. If you'd like to dive deeper into my saxophone world, come check me out at the Scott Paddock Sax School.